So we're here today as members of the Unity Centre and the No Borders Network. Today is about dawn raiding in Glasgow as a practice and about the continued detention of children in the UK as a whole. In the last month, 2 families that were dawn raided with the intention of forcibly removing them, they're both now back in Glasgow. What we understand happened is that in both cases the families, particularly the kids, became very distressed. Our understanding is that the pilot or the airline decided that they didn't want to take them on the plane at that time due to the state of distress that they were in.
But the government was quite happy to force them on the plane?
As far as we know, yeah. The evictions is another parallel. The planned eviction of around about 140 or so asylum seekers from their flats in Glasgow. The Why People contract is coming to an end. The takeover is due to happen later in the year. But as a result of that process, Why People have decided to turn back on a policy of not evicting refused asylum seekers and are now putting pressure on asylum seekers to leave their flats. They're also going in and changing locks when asylum seekers are out of their flats so that when they return home they have no access to their flats. Some have been living in for quite a considerable length of time, all their possessions are locked inside. They are literally homeless and destitute from that point on, and their only recourse to help is the various charities that are working in Glasgow to provide them with food and shelter. Many of these asylum seekers are still trying to work on their cases. This is obviously made very, very difficult by the difficult housing situations they face, so their situations are already very precarious, but to be able to actually argue your case and try and build up your case and get evidence, and these things are very difficult when the more precarious your situation. If you have no housing, if you have no food, then you're really just fighting to survive, and you've got no energy, no time, no resources to put towards actually working on your asylum case. So it makes it very difficult for these people to actually progress.
My name is Michael Collins from the National Coalition of Anti-Deportation Campaigns, and I'm just here today to support the people who are across the road there, locked on in front of the gates of the UK Border Agency Reporting Centre in Glasgow. I fully support what they're doing here because I think it's quite shameful that the operations that come out of this building are still going on in our city today. Only recently we've had single parents with children being raided in the early hours of the morning, children taken from the beds and taken to detention centres, being harassed and victimised for the only reason is that they come from another country seeking sanctuary in this country, and they're trying to be forced out of the country by violent and frightening means. And maybe this morning it looks like we've kept those vans locked up inside that come and do these dawn raids, so hopefully families in Glasgow will be a bit safer this morning. And also I think these people here have sent out a message to the Border Agency, to the Home Office, that we're still here, we're not going away, and it's in solidarity with all the refugees who are living in Glasgow today. When this coalition government came in, they said they committed that they would be stopping the detention of children for immigration purposes. Well, it's still going on. There are children being detained in a place in Sussex called the Cedars, which is a detention centre by any other name. And also just last week the Refugee Council produced a report which says that due to the UK Border Agency assessing people's ages as being over 18 when they're actually children, they're still detaining hundreds of children in detention centres every year. And that has to stop. The government's made a commitment for it to stop, and if they're not going to stop it, then we're going to carry on campaigning and lobbying against them to stop the detention of children. There was a woman with, I think she had 4 children. They came round and battered in her door at about 5-6 o'clock in the morning, dragging her and the children into a van with about a dozen men in body armour. There's no way to treat children. That mother's done nothing except try to look after her children and get them to a place of safety, and she was dragged off, taken in the back of a van and down to a detention centre. And it's absolutely horrendous that this still goes on in this country. Often they're taken immediately, transferred down to England, to the Cedars, which is in Sussex. It's a converted school which is now surrounded by massive fences and razor wire, and to their shame the charity Bernardo's is involved in running that with the Border Agency. That's the charity that's supposed to be looking after children in this country is actually involved in locking up children, and we think that's pretty shameful of Bernardo's to be doing that as well. Quite often they can be taken in a van that's going from Scotland all the way down to the south of England, down to these centres in Sussex. I think it takes an awful long time to do that. But just to be locked up in the back of a van for children like that, it's just completely unacceptable. We also stand in solidarity with people like Rosaline Akalu, a Nigerian who's living in Leeds. She came over here to study for a master's degree and she became seriously ill and is needed to have a transplant of her kidney. The thing that's keeping her alive, the dialysis, is not going to be available to her in Nigeria if she gets sent home. The Home Office says that treatment is available in Nigeria, even though there is really strong evidence that that treatment is only available to the rich in Nigeria. This woman doesn't have any money. Despite that, the Home Office is still saying that she's just going to send her back and she can, take her chances in Nigeria. Told today that she's been given removal directions, she's going to be forcibly removed from the UK. She has her MPs supporting her, she has doctors supporting her, she has community supporting her, yet this government seems hell-bent on sending people back even when you've got consultants at hospitals, specialists saying that she will be sent back to her death. That is why people take action like this.